Tien channel. This is Tien. I'm going to show you 3 pillowcases I knitted in the past. This is the first one. This is hand knitted with the chunky yarn. This is the second one. This is machine knitted with the worst weight yarn. And this is the third one. This one is kind of like a finger knitting with a super chunky yarn, and I actually do more of a finger crochet, same as crochet but with my own finger. The first one I'm going to show you is hand knitted. I use a chunky yarn. I knit this side, and this side is just a plain pillowcase. I sew it on the 4 sides. See, this one has a zipper, so I can unzip it and wash the pillowcase if needed. For the front side, it's very simple. I just make a symmetrical pattern with cable. This is pretty basic knitting. If you know how to knit and purl, and you should try it. You can make it a little bit smaller because the knitting always stretch, so it's better to make it a little bit smaller and you stretch out so it looks fuller when you put it on the pillow. And I just start with the plain knitting. You can do the long tail cast on or any cast on you like, and this part is plain stockinette, and the middle part is the purl stitch, and you can have 2 stitches of the knit stitch in the middle, and then purl stitch, and then knitted stitch again all over. And for the center part, I actually just do all the purl stitch in the center, and I do the knitted looking stitch at the end by a crochet hook. But you can do it either way. You can do it after you knitted the whole piece, or just knit purl stitch, knitted stitch and purl stitch. For the cable part, it's actually pretty easy if you've never done that. It's just after a couple of stitches you cross it with a cable needle. So you half of the stitch you put it either in the front or in the back, and you cross it and you keep knitting. And after the first few stitches, you knit the other half of the cable stitches from the cable needle. That creates a crossing, and you can decide you cross the left side or to the right side. So for this pillowcase, I make the cable symmetrical pattern, so one of them cross to one direction, the other one cross to the other direction, so it looks symmetrical. After you're done, you can just bind off and sew it onto this pillow. You can sew it to any old pillow if you want to refresh your pillow. So that's a comfy pillow with nice cable texture. The second one is similar with a lot of cables, but this one is done on a knitting machine. So I use a worsted weight yarn, the regular worsted weight, and I manipulate the cables on the machine. So all the crossing, I have to use the tools to put a few stitches on the one transferring tool, the other one to the other transferring tool, and just cross. And it creates interesting texture. Again, this in the middle, I want it to be symmetrical, so I have it crossing in the opposite direction. That's why it goes to the center. And again, you can see I have a little bit of purl stitch next to the cable stitch, so the pattern pops out a little bit more. And this is just a smaller cable crossing, and in the middle part it's bigger. And this one I actually made an envelope backing in the back. The edge of this one I did the 1x1 cable. I think I did the hand manipulation. After I knit the plain stitch, I reform every other stitch. Or you can use your ribber. If you have a ribber, you can do 1x1 or 1x2 or any types of a ribbon, and then continue your plain stitch. So I did that on both ends and just overlap a little bit. It depends on how big is your pillowcase. If it's bigger or fuller, you probably want to overlap a little bit more. See, or it will come out like that. But this one is okay because the pillow insert is not that big. Or you can add a button here and here to secure it if you want. Just add a button and a loop, crochet a loop and sew it down. That way you will not have problem of this coming out. So that's this one. I will link some of the techniques in the description below. I have some video showing the basic of the machine knitting techniques if you are interested. And the third pillowcase is interesting. I also have another video showing how to make a super chunky yarn. You can also buy super chunky yarns online or on Etsy. There's a lot of nice yarns on Etsy. It knits up very quickly. It's the making of the yarn takes the longest time for me. I'm going to show you how I do this one in a smaller sample. This is a worsted weight yarn, but I will pretend it's a super chunky yarn. And this is how I start my chunky pillow knitting for this one. First I use my finger and create some chain stitches. I make a loop first. It's the same as crochet, and you put the finger in the loop and pull a string. Now you have one loop. You can pull tight a little bit but not too tight, and then just keep repeating it. Pull the string on your finger and now you create another loop. And we just keep going to create a loop until we have enough stitches or the length. You can see the chains. Go to the second chain and I go from the front and pretend my finger is a hook and just grab the yarn through the loop and then through the second loop. That's one stitch. And next stitch, you can decide which part of chain you want to use. Grab it, pull through, and you adjust the size of the stitches a little bit by tightening it a little bit. So the next stitch, it's the same. Push in, we grab the yarn through the loop and pull out. And the next stitch, because the yarn I'm using now is worsted weight, it's probably faster to do it with a real crochet hook. But when your yarn size is much bigger, it's easier to use finger. So that's the first row. You turn I make one more stitch first before I turn. I make one chain. So you have the height of the next row. And then turn. And you just keep going. You can pick up the one in the front or in the back of the chain. Or you can pick up both. You will have a different look. Yeah, do whatever looks best for you. You can do a sample and see. So you can do single crochet, double crochet, or any way you like. And again, I make one more stitch, one more chain stitch and turn. After you turn, you just keep doing the same thing. That creates very thick fabric. It looks like a knitting, but it's more of a crochet. And at the end, it do the same, just bind off. And for the extra tail, I just kind of just tuck it in. You can also sew it up so it doesn't get loose, but for now, tucking in works fine for this pillow. If you are interested in plain pillowcases, I have it in my Etsy store. This one is linen blend, so it's very strong, and it has a zipper on the side. It's almost invisible. It's kind of invisible zipper. You can also use this to draw your own pillow or decorate it any way you want. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please let us know.